Joining me is one of the most celebrated AFL players of all time. Started his career as a number one draft pick of 2000, going on to achieve great success. 6 best and fairest over his 336 games for the club, and has written a book called The Things That Make Us. Nick Riewoldt, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you. I need a question answered straight off the top.
Sure.
I've had people say to me that Jack Riewoldt is taller than Nick Riewoldt, and according to Wikipedia, you are 2 centimetres shorter than Jack Riewoldt, and I can't believe that.
Well, unfortunately, it's true. So he's got me covered in the height department and the premiership department now, which is
Yes, he has.
very bitter pill to swallow.
That you could win money on that because you look very tall, and you look tall on field, but he certainly doesn't look like he's 2 centimetres taller than you.
No, I like to say that I just played a bit bigger than Jack.
Fair enough too. We're not here to talk about height.
No, that's right.
We're here to talk about what is a terrific book, The Things That Make Us. You wanted to share your story, but you didn't want your story to just be a footballer's recollection of his career.
Yeah, well, when I was first approached about going down the path of writing an autobiography, writing a book, I really wanted to avoid writing another cookie-cutter football book because I felt like that had been done a lot of times before, and to be honest, my story wasn't all that compelling. There were players that had won more premierships, had more success on the field, and maybe more interesting purely football careers. But if I did do it, I wanted to do something that was relatable and that people found interesting. So the way I was able to do that was to show some vulnerability, to also open up and talk about the rest of my life and some of the events, circumstances, relationships that have conspired to make me who I am.
As I was reading through the book, I was thinking for a young player, someone who's just maybe been drafted or is just starting out at the top level, there's a lot to take from this book.
Yeah, I certainly hope so. I certainly hope that any young player that's beginning their career or in the infancy of their career could read it and take some learnings out of it. I know if I was able to go back and do things again, I would do elements of it differently. An example is going on the footy show as a young player in your second year and thinking you're a lot better than you are and trying to be funny when I'm not a funny person, making mistakes along the way like that. So absolutely there were some really powerful life lessons learnt early on in my career.
Photos on footy trips, regrettable?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's I guess I speak about the spotlight, and when that shines brightly and it's all positive, it's great. It's great to be on that side of it. But I was also on the other side of it as well, and you spoke about the photo scandal, and the most frustrating element of that whole scenario was that really the only thing that I did wrong was have a photo taken of me. Aside from that,
And that was clarified.
Yeah, absolutely. But it took a long time for people to want to hear that side of it, which was really frustrating. So I had a tough relationship with the media throughout that period because I knew what had happened. The people close to me knew what had happened and how it had all unfolded. But I guess that wasn't the sort of story that would sell and continue to keep it alive. So yeah, that was a difficult period.
If it's any consolation, I'd completely forgotten about that part of your career and life.
Yeah, well, that's good.
And that's how most people would be, just focusing on your fabulous career and the challenges you've faced.
Yeah, and there were elements of what's in the book that I would have preferred to leave out, but I think people can see through that. And if I went down the path of writing the book, I really wanted to do it properly and do it justice. So it all needed to be in there, and really the fallout from that and how it affected me as a person has still, I guess, shaped who I've become today. And anyone can look at any scenario in their life, whether it's a relationship they've had or an event that's occurred, and they all shape us in some way.
The other part of the book, which is inspiring, is how you have handled, and you mentioned it before, that losing a sibling, the sadness that your family has been through, and you've created a positive out of it with your foundation. That must have been incredibly difficult existing while going through that.
Yeah, it was really difficult. Writing the book was quite helpful with respects to that, though. Mm. It was painful at times, reliving a lot of what we went through, particularly the last 7 months in intensive care, which were just so horrible. Driving into the hospital the morning that Maddie passed away, and knowing that we were driving in to face that, and even just reflecting on, as human beings, how we're able to function through those periods. It's it's quite incredible what human beings are able to do faced with that sort of adversity. But yeah, reflecting on a lot of the good times has been a real positive to come out of it as well. It was only once I sat down with Peter Hanlon, my ghostwriter, and he really prized a lot of those emotions out of me that I was able to reflect on some of the great memories I have of my little sister.
Times have changed. There's a photo of you with your grandmother. I think you called her Nanny.
Nan, yeah.
Nan. A photo when you state in the book that you absolutely adored her. Now I don't reckon footballers of the '60s would be outwardly; they'd be inwardly saying they wouldn't be putting that in a book, and it's lovely.
Yeah, no, she's an amazing woman. I guess part of my story is my affinity and affection to Tassie, and she's a really big part of that. Grew up on the east coast of Tassie, a place called Orford, and I've still got a place down there on the east coast, and she's effectively the caretaker. She gives me a lecture every time I go down about the sort of condition I need to leave my house in. So she's an amazing woman, and I'm very, very grateful to have her in my life.
People do listen in Tassie, so there's probably a chance she might be listening
I
right
hope
now.
so.
Where to from here?
Well, I've got a crazy few weeks ahead of me trying to promote the book and talk about it, which will be a lot of fun travelling around the country. But from there, my wife's American, so we're going to head back to Texas.
You're on a footy trip and you meet the love of your life.
Yeah, well, who said nothing good comes of footy trips?
When you had the initial conversation with family, I've been in Vegas. I think I've met the love of my life. How did that travel?
It didn't travel. Well, it probably travelled better with my family than it did with her family. So from her father's,
she's in Vegas. She's met a footballer.
Yeah. From her father's point of view, I had 3 strikes right off the bat because we met in Vegas. So that's strike 1.
Ding.
He's a footballer. Strike 2.
Ding.
And he lives on the other side of the world. Strike 3. So, look, amazing story. We have 2 different versions of how we met. I say we met in Vegas. She says we met in Nevada. So they're both factually correct. They just have different connotations attached to them. But, yeah, look, it's an incredible place, Texas. I'm really grateful that I've been able to spend a lot of time, pretty much 9 months, 3 months in the off-season for the last 7 years. And I've got no doubt that's prolonged my career. So we'll head over there in November. We'll spend Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's with my wife's family, and then back in the new year and welcome to the real world.
Media career?
Yeah, I'll stay involved and do
even though you were a bit nervous about us at the start.
Yeah, that's right. It's come full circle. The irony is not lost on me. Absolutely, that.
Yeah, but it's a confidence thing. It's getting used to it.
Yeah, it is, and I had the spotlight shone on me for a long period of time, and now I'm about to embark on doing it to others.
The man sitting there behind the petition is Richard Stansbury. He's a Hawthorn supporter. He is asking in my ear, Hodgie's going around again. Would Nick do it?
I can categorically put a line through that. I'm well and truly comfortable with my decision to retire.
Great to see you. Great to meet you. And congratulations on the things that make us.
Thank you.
Nick Riewoldt, who is 2 centimetres shorter than Jack Riewoldt, and I still don't believe it even though the man has told me himself. 19 past 2.